Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have Fey Hollow. So, not to be confused with Fey Hollow, the Fairy Tale Murder podcast, which I just discovered while Googling Fey Hollow.
I was not aware.
Neither have I. Apparently it's a crime thriller podcast in like 8 episodes. But anyway,
Nice.
seems like my wheelhouse. But I'll say that for off recording. I'm gonna listen to that. We're talking about Fey Hollow, which is a creepypasta on creepypasta.wiki by ShadowSwimmer77, and we're gonna dive right into this one. So there's this guy Trevor. As a child, he went walking into the woods while staying at his grandparents' place for the summer. While walking, he came to a strange winding trail with silvery sweet music sirening him down it. It led him down a very strange hike. While following the trail and music, the sky above changing to a strange nightscape, he paused upon seeing something glinting in the knot of a tree. It was a silver medallion, or sorry, I even changed it because I wrote in earlier today a silver pendant. I was like, no, it's a silver amulet. It specifically said amulet in the story. Shit. I know, medallion, amulet, pendant. They're all tomato. But yeah, it was a silver amulet that had an inner power to it. So Trevor pocketed it and kept following the trail. The trail led him to a fairgrounds deep in the woods where children played, ate sweets, and went on rides. There were also these nice little elf guys named Binkles, and the now massive full moon in the sky had a woman's face on it, and it was winking at him. However, this glamour all came crashing down for Trevor as he touched the amulet in his pocket, when he saw the truth of Fey Hollow. An abattoir of childhood nightmares made real, with rides that were eating their riders, sweets and foods that were in fact body parts, and even creatures themselves, hungry for their unsuspecting would-be eaters. Just child corpses everywhere. At the center of all this, on a throne of bones, sat a bedeviled sylvan queen with the same face as the moon had earlier, but a much more monstrous body. She was staring at Trevor knowingly. As Trevor stood there petrified on what he was beholding, the horrid, lanky, true creature that was Binkle began talking to him. During this exchange, Trevor convinced the creature to let him go, and since Trevor had not yet partaken of anything the fairgrounds had to offer, he was, in fact, free to go. And so he did. But the fairgrounds and its queen were now watching him. Returning home, he entered a coma that lasted a week, and it wasn't until the next summer, when he found the amulet in his shorts, that he had another coma. But this time he woke up earlier, and this time around, he remembered everything that had transpired in Fey Hollow. From then on, he kept the amulet on, for Fey Hollow's path began stalking him, trying to get him to venture back to the fairgrounds. It only stopped once he was 18 years old. He's 30 now, and while he no longer wears the amulet, he has fallen in love and is expecting to have kids, and he worries that Fey Hollow will hunt them next. So he plans to give them, his children, the amulet, and warns the reader that monsters do exist, and they wait for us to fall into their traps. Finn. How'd I do, guys? How was that for a rundown?
Pretty good. You forgot to mention the enormous flaccid penis, though.
Oh yeah. Well, I did say giant, like a much more monster. Like yeah. I did forget the I did forget. Slanesh was was in fact the Sylvan Queen. That's a Warhammer joke.
Okay, gotcha.
Slanesh is one of the chaos gods that is both male and female, and is the chaos god of like basically overindulgence and like sloth and lust and what have you.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, basically, she's a Fey creature. Like, it's a creature of Fey, so it's like this weird, like, hermaphroditic creature. It's fine. But yeah, so that's the rundown of Fey Hollow. So I guess we shall move on to everyone tolerates that grammar inquisitions. At this point, God, I love doing that. So I'm going to start with this one here. At 10 years of age, whiling the days away in the simple pleasures of fresh air and sunshine, I stumbled upon the strange dirt path running through the forest, somehow sinister and inviting all at once. So a bit run-on, and this story has a number of run-on sentences where it just uses commas to like extend a sentence. But also whiling the days away, like WHILING. And apparently, this is an actual turn of phrase, or a turn of phrase, to spend time doing something enjoyable. So I learned a thing, because I'd never heard whiling the days away. So on to my next one. Still, a puzzle so mysterious at this. My natural boyish curiosity was simply too powerful for my inherent caution to overcome. So I think it's supposed to be still a puzzle so mysterious as this, not at this.
Yeah.
The next one here. Yes, she certainly is, I replied politely. Taught through rat practice, and the switch that one should always behave properly when confronted with a new acquaintance. What the fuck is route practice?
I think it's like pronounced row.
Yeah, is it row practice? Like, okay,
Maybe.
like the closest I could, like, I could not find this turn of phrase. Like, what is that? Like, do you guys know what that means? Like the closest
The
I was able to
disorderly
come
retreat of defeated troops.
Yeah, like the closest I was able to come to, like, for like what this means is just like through forced practice. Like in terms of like what the rote like derivative is. And like also like that switch part, like, and the switch that one should always behave properly when confronted with a new acquaintance. What the fuck does that even mean? Like, I'm legitimately asking this question to you both because I could not find any solution.
The switch that one should always behave. Taught through row practice. Yeah, I don't know.
It's so. I don't
like as far as my quick googling that I just did right now. Taught through row practice would be like disorderly practice.
What? That makes no sense then for the context.
Yeah.
Like, I replied politely, taught through I don't get it. Like, I'm trying to is it like a dialect thing from like wherever Shadow Swimmer is from? Like, I don't know. It's such a weird turn of phrase. To the point where I had to bring it up here because like last night I did a Google search like to try and find out if this was a phrase somewhere, and I could not find an explanation for it. The best I can come up with is that maybe if this is something wrong, like if this is like some kind of weird like typo that just it may be like taught through studious practice.
Through thorough practice.
Yeah, through thorough practice and the
knowledge that one should always
the teachings are the knowledge that one should always behave properly when confronted with a new acquaintance. Well, like I don't
know.
Disorderly practice almost works because it's when you get scolded as a kid for not doing your manners, right?
Maybe, yeah.
And then the switch, the opposite of that, is actually doing your manners.
Maybe?
Oh, so it's
So-
saying through disorderly practice and the opposite.
Yeah.
And through like proper practice.
Yeah.
Just in a
But
really
it's
roundabout way.
So weird. Yeah, like I'm gonna say something about this story's writing prose in my first actual thought, but like this one was like, what? Huh? I was very confused by this sentence. But I'll move on. So polite, calling Binkle sir. And then that's the end of the quotes for the dialogue. However, but that not necessary. No, my word. Why is Master Trevor not having his fun? As that, in Fey Hollow, is what all children have done. I think the quote was put in the wrong spot. Because that entire section was dialogue. Yeah.
Especially because of how like rhymey and weird that is. So
exactly.
that is clearly him still saying that.
Unless he's doing it telepathically, like the second half of that sentence, the dialogue.
Maybe.
Yeah, I was very like it's like that. I think it's just a simple issue of like that the dialogue quotation needs to be extended to the full section.
Mm-hmm.
And then my next one here, I fumbled to try to make words in my mouth, but my tongue felt swollen and unwieldy behind my lips. So just a simple spelling mistake. Unwieldy is actually supposed to be unwieldy. So UNWIELDY. Don't add an L before the Y there.
Yes.
And then my next one here, another simple typo or spelling error. They didn't know I would be leaving, so I think it's best that I be going home now. So again, it's hard to say that. It's hard to say what's wrong, but "it's" in the sentence is missing the apostrophe. So I think it's best, like it is best that I go home now.
Mm-hmm.
But that is my grammar inquisition for this story. So I relinquish it over to Mikey. He stands for evil.
All right. So you caught the ones that I found.
I did it.
So all that I have left is a conjunction junction.
Ooh. And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
It curled and swayed this way and that, not appearing to obey any logic or whim, the twists and turns of its passage taking it through swaths of deep shadow, over fallen trees, and across babbling brooks. And in the final third, directly ahead and serving as the focal point and apex to the entire park, stood an enormous haunted house attraction, its exterior covered with animatronic ghosts and ghouls. And these were not the worst. Its massive head lay at the entrance, and I watched as a line of waiting riders walked willingly into its open mouth. Its dark eyes flicked to me where I stood staring, and it smiled knowingly at me and winked. The idiosyncrasies of the motion, a perfect copy of the expression the animated moon had given to me earlier. Its long arms hung past its knees and terminated in large knuckle-handed, seemingly big enough to envelop me completely, and tipped with wicked-looking claws. It extended its arm past me in a gesture directing me back towards the entrance to the fairgrounds. It had taken some effort to convince my mom, but I really did want to spend time with them. It wasn't in the same place as the first time, but the silvery strains of music trying to draw me down, it let me know beyond the shadow of a doubt that it was the same trail I'd found before. It was terrifying how hard it was for me to resist that cloying temptation, but holding tightly onto the pendant I wore around my neck, I managed to turn and walk home without looking back. But she wants them, and there's no way I can deny her that either. But I worry. It sure didn't stop the Hollow from trying to get at me, but at least it let me see the monsters for what they truly were. It will belong to my child, once he or she is old enough. It's a poor inheritance, to be sure, but it's also a lesson all of us must learn. And if we go too long asleep, we may find we have been devoured. Finn.
Wow. That almost sounded like he like early on in that little bit, it almost sounded like he wanted to, like he actually had a fun time at Fey Hollow and wanted to go back.
Yeah. When he was describing the creatures, it was like it started describing the snake, and then it continued by describing the demon on the throne, and then continued with Binkle as well, as if they're all one creature. So it's this weird giant snake demon with long arms that has claws.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And yeah, the reason that Mikey does this is to highlight all the sentences that start with words they shouldn't, like it's, ands, or buts, because there's better places to put those, not at the front.
Yes.
Pretty much all of them, there's some other more proper word that would sit in there better.
Yeah. So if that is the end of Mikey's Grammar Inquisition,
yep,
then we shall move on to Gamer.
Okay, I only got one. It's like the second half of one that you brought up that you didn't mention.
Oh, okay.
Why is Master Trevor not having his fun, as that in Fey Hollow is what all children have done?
Yeah.
So maybe it's just the way that the elf talks, but I didn't really understand the last half of that.
Really?
As that in Fey Hollow is what all children have done.
Yeah. It's like, so like, why isn't Master Trevor not having fun like all the other children in Fey Hollow are doing?
I guess
it's just kind of it's a poem, like a poetry kind of way of, like, or a rhyming sort of way of saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very roundabout way of getting there.
I mean, it's the Fae. That's all they do.
Mm.
They're tricksy that way.
They is. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had.
Okay. Also, technically, that's dialogue. As I put on, as I adjust my glasses. It's how the character talks.
It is, but if you're trying to say words for a child to understand,
I mean, yeah. Well, starting with that, actually, like, okay, so we're gonna move on to actual thoughts.
Actually, question: what freaking time period did you view the child being from?
Honestly, are like the modern day, but like the Fae don't have the same anachronisms as us.
But listen to the way that Trevor writes.
As a 30-year-old.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, he's writing like he's kind of old school. I feel like this is from like the 30s. True.
And honestly, it could be, because there's really no content
technology
in this. Yeah. There's no content in the story that would betray an earlier time period.
I think the highest tech thing I saw was the whack-a-mole.
Yeah, I mean, whack-a-moles have been around for like ages. Like, not, hang on, whack-a-mole. You're gonna make me look it up. And by you, I mean me.
Yeah.
Whack-a-mole.
76.
Okay, so yeah, the 70s is still not bad. Like, 70s is still like people talked weird. People talk funny back then.
Wow. There goes all of our demographic from the 70s.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, the 70s is still like an earlyish time. So, Especially this guy who went to like college and stuff like that. Like maybe he kind of an academic. Maybe he went into like creative writing.
Oh, okay. Fair.
But yeah. So I guess segueing over to actual thoughts with that. So I'm going to start with this quote here. Regaining conscious control of my passage, slightly shaken by my auto-ambulation, despite the reassuring lilt of the music. I slipped the pendant into my pocket and cautiously proceeded, exhilarant and nervous to discover what might lay at the end of the forest path. God damn, is this some flowery prose going on in this story?
Yeah, case in point for what I just said.
This is some purple prose going on here, like some $5 words being used.
Isn't there an issue there?
With what?
Because later, when he touches the pendant, the music changes as well.
I think what it is the music doesn't like the full glamour doesn't drop until he passes through the archway into the fairgrounds.
I thought the full glamour dropped as soon as he touched it.
It does. However, like notice that like the music's still playing like even when he's like has the pendant on, like when he's older and like when he's like trying to escape the thing, like it's still trying to siren song him even though he has the pendant on. So I think the glamour, the true glamour is actually when he's within the perimeter of the fairgrounds, not before, like while he's on the trail.
Does it specifically say that it is the normal it's the normal glamored music? Or does it just say the music is still calling to me? Which could be the fucked up music.
Maybe. I don't know. It doesn't specifically say. So this might be a plot hole. But
I just say that it's the unglamored music that was still kind of messed up. But there was still music playing. It didn't shut the music off.
Yeah. It just added, it basically just, and again, like when he was in the carnival, like when the music, when the glamour dropped out, the music just suddenly, like, it became like a cacophony of screaming and like children screaming and some of that, which really just could be that, like, maybe that was like the bulk of the music at the fairgrounds was just people screaming. Like maybe there was some twisted music that was kind of being played underlying it, that was just being drowned out by the screams. I don't know. But yeah, that was just my example of like, this is very Purple Pro. Like very, very flowery in its descriptions of things in the story. And to me, it wasn't unwelcomed. So, on to my next one here. Reaching the center of the clearing, I found that the midway reached a sort of hub, with two other paths combining to create a Y, dividing the fairgrounds into three roughly equal parts. So the reason I brought this quote up is actually not really because of anything it's saying specifically, but like just to kind of bring up the fact that, like, so this is a fairgrounds that is run by the fair folk, or the Fey, because another term for the Fey, or the creatures of fairy, are the fair folk. As we actually discovered a couple of years back when we did a Newfoundland creepypasta called The Fair Folk. So I actually kind of thought that was neat. Whereas, like, this is a fairground, both in the literal sense of, like, this is the territory of the Fae, of the fair folk, but it's also a fair, like a festival or like a carnival sort of situation. So I thought that was I don't know if that was intentional, but I thought that was rather clever. When I came upon that. And then we get this part here, which is built how do you fucking say this thing's name? Binkles. I kept for some reason over the course of like jotting down my notes and like reading the story, I kept thinking whenever Binkles word was not in my view, I kept calling it Blinky or like or Bilk I keep calling it Blinky or Bilkins.
But it's just Binkle. There's no S on the end.
Is it? No. Oh shit, you're right. Fuck. It's because there's more than one. That's why I had it in there.
Oh, okay.
Because there was another one in the ticket booth. So
His
and
name
actually
isn't necessarily Binkle, though.
no, but it's but
Steve.
Trevor refers to him as another Binkle.
Yes.
But anyway, moving on. Here's the quote. Yes, Fey Hollow is where all the children come for fun, and when it's done, they're off to run. Now, get your tickets, Master Trevor, so you can have fun too. Hurry now, before the night is through. And my first impression here was when I got to this part was like, this story's gonna end with the Binkles hunting down the kids by the end of the night, isn't it? And
it really
then
sounded like it.
yeah, and then the update. Oh no, it's far worse. He's already in the shit.
Mm-hmm.
And actually moving. Oh yeah, yes.
Speaking about that, the quote. For me, I I had a strong Pinocchio vibe.
Yeah,
So I was expecting everyone to turn into horses or donkeys.
or some kind of creature like it. I mean, to be fair, in Pinocchio, that is very much a like that place,
Oh.
that island that they all the boys go to.
They said Nokia vibe. I'm like, how is this to do with phones and such?
Really?
I don't understand. I
God
honestly
damn it.
thought he said that. I did not hear him.
It's fair. Yeah, it might just be like a connection issue.
Yeah.
But
My
yeah,
brain
no,
isn't connected to the rest of my body very well.
yes, clearly. But yeah, in Pinocchio, yeah, the island where like all the kids like can smoke and drink and be all kinds of assholes. They become assholes themselves, literally asses. That's very much a like a fairy folklore, like a fairy thing sort of thing. Like just like basically, it's like going to hell, or like it's like the devil tricking you into sinning and stuff like that. But yeah, and actually moving on to the quote I have again. It's one I just kind of use it indirectly. And these were not the worst. No, that distraction belonged to the three main attractions, and it kind of covers like a bunch of like the attractions, like the roller coaster ride and the Ferris wheel and the haunted house attraction, and then all the other stuff that we see in this festival. In the first half of the story, like it starts off all nice and like whimsical and fun, and then as soon as the glamour gets ripped down, we get some really cool, horrifying descriptions of the true form of the fairgrounds. And I thought it was really well illustrated with each paragraph that we got that covered each ride. Like, I think my favorite one is specifically the Ferris wheel spiderweb description. Just because, like, I liked that idea of like it looks like a Ferris wheel, but then when the glamour comes off, it's still kind of Ferris wheel shaped, but it's a giant spider web. I thought that was a very creative like way of translating a spider web.
Now that I think about it, the demon that's in the middle.
Yeah.
What was that demon when the glamour was on?
It was a haunted house attraction.
Oh, the demon was the haunted house?
Yeah, it was the entire haunted house, and they were on a stage with the throne of bones, and all the ghosts and ghoulies that were like animatronics. Those were all children impaled on spikes, and it was like basically using its it was putting its cup underneath them to gather their blood.
Yes.
So yeah, again, a really cool like twisted version of like the glamour, and then like even and like all the creatures we see in this, like the Binkle, when it's revealed its true form, it's like this whimsy. First, it's this whimsy, like almost like leprechaun, like elf kind of creature, and then the glamour comes off, and it's more of a Guillermo del Toro fairy horror, like this giant, lanky, tall creature with like no eyes, but like a too wide mouth with like teeth that are all like serrated or like shark-like.
Mm-hmm.
And its finger, like the finger part with its claws, and actually I'm about to get into that. So with this quote here, I saw that one of the fingers had been run through a small corpse. The body dressed in a recognizable sage green outfit that revealed the identity of the speaker, of whom I had earlier made an acquaintance. Okay, so first off, the part where it's like, I saw that one of the fingers had been run through a small corpse. I don't think Bean should be there. I think it should be like had run through a small corpse. Like one of the fingers had run through a small corpse.
Said it had been.
Yeah, exactly. It just seemed kind of weird to me, like the way it was written. Again, some of the story kind of has that like kind of whimsical poetry sort of to it, and sometimes it doesn't make sense, like we kind of brought up earlier.
I think it works okay either
Does
way,
it
but
make
that's
sense?
just me.
Okay, that's fair. I don't. I struggled with it a little bit on my read throughs. So
Would it make
but
more sense if it impaled the small corpse?
yeah, I think that might work better. Like I saw that one of the fingers had impaled a small corpse. Maybe that would work better for me anyway. It's sort of an objective thing.
Because
Or
Bean is in there,
subjective.
though, it's making it past tense like it was already impaled.
Yeah,
It almost sounds like you're talking about it in the present without that there.
Yeah, I don't know. But that was just sort of like an aside grammar thing, and like the actual like comment I have is like my uh the just this is this like the other thing I had about this was like, is this implying that the creature killed Binkle, or that it simply had used the outfit on the victim as its glamour foci? Like I wasn't sure when it was describing this. I wasn't sure if the creature itself was actually supposed to be Binkle, like in its true form, or if Binkle had been killed by this thing and was now talking through Binkle.
I imagine the glamour is just to hide itself while he's puppeting it.
Yeah, and again, like the next sentence we get, my entire body was shaking as I faced the monster in front of me. Its hand moving the little green suited corpse in time with its words, and that was like, oh god, it's a puppeteer, and the glamour is using this corpse puppet as a focus. Like, god, that's so fucking creepy and cool. Like, just again, very very much like fairy horror. Like, you think they're like nice, cutes, and like whimsical creatures, and then when you see them for what they really are, they're these twisted, like lanky human forms that are, or like humanish forms that are like distended and like bloated and horrifying. Like suddenly they are inhuman things, wearing the guise of something more familiar for the children. And then we so basically I really liked the descriptions of all the fake creatures and stuff, like their true forms, because it was really well, horrifyingly described. So moving away from Fey Hollow, we go back. We cut a year. When
I thought we'd jump into a different creepypasta. I'm like, I was not prepared.
No,
Is this an SCP? Is there a link I missed?
Oh no. No, I'm just talking about the shorts dilemma. So here's the quote. I can't rightly say why, but it wasn't until the next year, pulling back on the shorts I'd been wearing that faithful day, that my hand found the amulet somehow still in the pocket where it had been left, and the memories all came rushing back to me. Wait, no one washed those shorts, piss-stained and all, for a year? And you just put them back on? Ew!
Or his mom did wash them, but she didn't notice it was in there.
That I was literally about to say that. I was like, okay, maybe they got cleaned, and perhaps the amulet just magically remained in the shorts, waiting for Trevor to return to them.
Yeah.
But still, I plead the fifth on my original gross thought of those shorts.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's funnier and also grosser if it was actually that, like, he just never, like, he never cleaned those shorts. They just sat there, like, on his in his room for like a year until the next summer.
That's why I wear yellow shorts, because I can't see when I piss myself.
That's why I wear the brown
as I'm wearing yellow shorts right now.
Nice. Yeah.
But why are they wet?
Don't worry about it.
Anybody smell ammonia? Anyway. Gonna move on to my next one here. All thoughts of what did or didn't happen went away the next summer at my grandparents' house. It had taken some effort to convince my mom, but I really did want to spend time with them. Besides, despite how scared I was, there was a part of me that wanted to confirm once and for all exactly what I had seen. And my first impression here is you are an idiot. Or a creepypasta horror movie protagonist. Like legitimately, like my first impressions here, this story didn't need to keep going with you, like didn't need to have the character go back to Fey Hollow. It was nearly a good enough end like tale of confronting the Fae and escaping while traumatized from the experience. But no, we need to have the character fumble back into the trap willingly this time. Don't we, Trevor? But then, the next sentence, or like the next thing down, it was terrifying how hard it was for me to resist that cloying temptation. But holding tightly onto the pendant I wore around my neck, I managed to turn and walk home without looking back. That was the last time I voluntarily went walking into the woods. I thought I was free of Fey Hollow. For a while, I was right. Oh, okay, so like, he just went to check to see if he could find the trail again, and it was like, okay, that was real. Nope. Okay, so it's like, I was like, as I was reading this, it was just sort of like a journey. I was like, you are an idiot. What the fuck? Oh, okay. You're not an idiot. Okay, cool. Well then, carry on.
Yeah.
Like, that was like immediately my reaction after like finishing that part. It was like, oh, all right. But it like sort of like dukes you into thinking that he's going to go back to Fey Hollow for some fucking reason. But yeah. My next one here, my next idea here stems from this quote. After that, I had to be careful. Every once in a while, I would be walking down the sidewalk, and if I let my thoughts wander, would find myself heading down the forest path. The unmistakable lilt of music drawing me ever onwards. The strange eldritch stars and moon shining down upon me from between the thick tree branches above. Once I was studying in a library, went back into the stacks to grab a book, and turning to go back to my table, realized I was on the trail to the grove. So I really like this idea of an otherworldly place stalking you and attempting to trick you into like going into and like walking back into its like domain. Like, I think that's really fucking cool as a horror concept. Like, it's not a creature; it's the actual place like stalking you.
I wonder what happens in that situation. Like, does he just bamf out of reality, or is he still walking around in reality, but in his head he's envisioning that he's doing that?
I think maybe like it's sort of like a Carcosa thing, which is actually what I'm going to bring up next. Is that he just sort of he turns a corner and like to anybody out on the outside, it looks like he's just like walked past a pole and just vanished, like behind it, like just hid behind it.
Oh, he Batman's away.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think he just transitions from our reality to that reality, because it is definitely a translation between the real world and the Fey world that he's doing when he goes to this other place. Because it was sunny when he was walking around in the woods, and then he followed this trail and it suddenly became nighttime way earlier than it should have been.
But that could have been some psychedelic effect on him that's only in his head.
It could be, but I think the way it's treated in the story. I think it's supposed to be like a translation between dimensions.
I'm just saying, like, previously when he fully went there, he could have been actually walking around in the actual forest. But when he's in the library and then all of a sudden he's in the forest, that makes me wonder now.
Yeah, he's like, is he just suffering from like hallucinations? Sort of got like a Ben Brown vibe.
Or is it possible that when that affects him, essentially makes him sleepwalk? So to his waking mind, it was instantaneous. He's in the forest. But what actually happened was he sleepwalked out of the building all the way to the forest until he woke up.
That'd be so fucking cool. Like again, like I'm just visualizing like how you would like show that in a film, and just like show like the security cameras or the CRT cameras of the library, just showing this guy like just walk out off of campus and just walk towards a forest.
Mm-hmm.
Like just drop everything. Yeah, I think that would be really cool. And actually, I kind of like this idea, and I like because it's sort of like similar to like the idea of the dimension like stalking him, like going back to my original thought that it's the dimension itself that's stalking him. It reminds me of like Carcosa as a predatory dimensional space, like, and I could definitely see that being run in a game. Like, this is my kitchen segment, guys. I could see it being done in like 3 acts. Like, the first act is the childhood whimsy horror of the initial discovery. Like, have the characters go to like a weird whimsical carnival in the woods, but then have one of them like. But then have them like roll sand and then learn the truth behind the glamour, and then the survivors of that encounter, like the ones that make it out of the festival or of the fair, we move on to Act 2, and they're like maybe a little bit older, or maybe like it's like a little bit time has passed between like that and then and now, and have that the fairgrounds, or like the trail that leads to the fairgrounds, is now stalking them. Like, again, like in the story, like have them roll sand just on their regular routine, like during the day, and it's like, all right, you're at the trail. Like, just have them like like their sand checks basically determine how they translate over to the trail.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like how Carcosa, like in Carcosa, you would roll sand, and you get the choice to accept this reality or not. And basically, like, if you don't want to lose sand, you got to follow with it. However, the more sand you're losing, like the more sand you're basically like you're going with, the closer you are to getting into Carcosa. And at the very end, once you get in there, it's too late. You're done. You're fucked, son. And so yeah, that'd be the thing. Is basically like this. Act 2 would be the stalking of the location, stalking the players as they try to either go about their lives or try and figure out what's going on. And then Act 3, I feel, would probably be the final confrontation to try and stop. Either find a way to stop it from happening, or to like kill the Sylvan Queen that's obviously like in charge of everything, or die trying / go insane. Whichever happens first.
Yeah, I was to say, or a total party wipe.
Yeah, exactly. A TPK. It would definitely be a multi-session like mini campaign. I think like each act would be a session. I feel.
Yeah.
And you could even like stick with the Fey origin, like just like basically remove the Carcosa element and just like, or use the Carcosa mechanics and just have it be Fey origins, because honestly, Fey, the deeper you look into Fey legends and stuff like that, the more you get into like kind of cosmic horror anyway. So like you almost don't even need like the more Lovecraftian like or King in Yellow sort of like mythos to represent that cosmic horror. Like Fey folklore is just as cosmic horror as Lovecraft. So and speaking of Fey folklore and such, I'm going to start off with this quote here. That continued for some long years until abruptly, when I turned 18, it stopped altogether. I don't rightly know what it is about being a legal adult that did it, or if it would have made a difference if I had been born in a country where adulthood was considered to be at an earlier or later age. That's actually very common in fairy folklore and myths. They prey on children for their innocence. Like, not to say that Fae don't prey on adults in stories, but in the stories that children are involved, it's usually due to their youth and naivete. Like they're playing, they want to play, but then Fae playing is not human playing. They are like it's like playing with a wild animal. You're gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
So, and then I got this kind of this felt like a revelation to me when I got to it, but I'll just continue here. I'm in my 30s now. For a long while, I thought that I wouldn't get married, but then I found a woman that I absolutely couldn't dream of living without. I thought for sure that I would never have kids, but she wants them, and there's no way I can deny her that either. But I worry. Oh no. So, two things here. So first off, I immediately thought that Trevor's potential kids being in danger, like right off, like as soon as I read this, I was like, oh man, yeah, your kids are totes in danger. Like as soon as it said I'm in my 30s now, it's like, oh man, your fucking kids are like you're talking about you're about to talk about your kids, and how they're being affected or how they're about to be affected by the by Fey Hollow's like stalking.
I think what he's saying is like all kids are affected by it.
Oh yeah, no,
general.
but his in particular, like he's worried about his own kids, like about that's why he didn't want to have kids and such, was because of all this. But yeah, no, it's sort of like I think why I like immediately thought of that, like even before like the sentence finished or the paragraph finished, was because that's kind of a thing in horror stories, like the sins of the father move on to the children sort of thing. Or the sins of the parents kind of move on to the children in horror stories. But the second part that actually got me in this, when it like as soon as it brings up, like I'm in my 30s now, and I couldn't imagine getting married, but now I found this woman that I absolutely cannot dream without living without. I actually like thought of something before it, like right after the or before it even starts addressing like the fact like he's about to have kids and like that's an issue. It actually like my revelation pointed towards the fiance, and I almost expected this story to end with the Sylvan Queen of the Fey, like of Fey Hollow, like that creature on the throne of bones, being glamored and courting Trevor as some sort of long con trickery.
Yeah,
because he previously stated he'd been without wearing the amulet like for several years. Because he didn't.
Oh yeah.
Because so he wouldn't be able to. He wouldn't have the. He wouldn't know the glamour. And then like so like the story would end with him like picking up the. It's like, but recently, I picked up my that old amulet because of my worries, and I just had this horrible. I just caught this horrible glance of my soon to be wife as the Sylvan creature from the Bone Throne. Dun, dun, dun. Like I think it would be a really cool twist. Just saying, like that would have been like the kid, like passing on like the amulet to your kids, like and like warning the reader and stuff like that. Like that's cool. That's still a decent like ending. But I think it would be the way it was going. I think it would have been really cool if there had been like this long con from the Sylvan creature that it like had found him found another way to like basically get at Trevor all these years.
Depends on how their magic works, because if they just don't get affected by they being humans, if they just don't get affected by it after they're of legal age, then glamour or not, he wouldn't be noticing it.
I think it's well, and like again, like I can't speak 100% for Fey folklore and stuff like that because I'm not a huge expert on it. I dabble, but I feel like it was probably just like at 18 they stopped playing their game of trying to catch the kid. Because he's older now, but now they've moved on to the other, like to another angle because he's an adult, so we'll try another trick on him now.
Yeah,
like, we'll lull him into a false sense of security, and then our queen will grab him. And then going on to the question that I had throughout this entire story, and I'm going to start with this quote here. I still have the amulet. I don't know how it ended up in that tree. And I don't know what providence let me stop and grab it that first day on my way to Fey Hollow. All I know is that it saved my life, maybe my very soul. It sure didn't stop the Hollow from trying to get at me, but at the very least, it let me see the monsters for what they truly were. So my theory here, since the story is being very vague about it, is that who planted that amulet in that tree was the Summer Court Fae, because to me the Fey Hollow feels very Winter Court, like very very dark, very predatory, very cold in their motives. So I think that like maybe as a way of indirectly thwarting Winter, Summer placed a loophole or a counter agent before, like along the trail, so that so that you could see like through their glamour, through the Winter's glamour, as like for any victim that was like going down the trail that was eagle-eyed enough to spot the the counter agent before going into the trap. it's definitely something that summer and winter do in fairy folklore, or at least in stories that deal with fairy folklore. Like winter and summer are always at odds, and they're always trying to outdo each other or trying to trying to counteract each other. Like it might not even be that they care about the person that's going into Fey Hollow. They're just like, oh man, fucking Winter's got this really interesting side gig going on. Like we can't let that stand, but we can't directly combat them because that's not our way. So we're gonna do something tricksy and put a little like a boon or like a little bit of an aid to the poor victims that get ensnarled by Winter's trap.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's my theory is that it's actually it was placed there by another Fey faction to kind of piss off or antagonize the Fey that are running Fey Hollow.
Yeah, because why would those Fey have that laying around? They destroy it, right?
Exactly, yeah. Or they wouldn't have it out in the open. Or, you know what? Actually, I mean, now that I think about it, it could also just be like part of the game because the Fae are they're all about being playful and being tricksy and deceptive, but also giving you a fair chance to string your own neck up. So they might have placed that amulet there as a test to see if anybody was smart enough to or somebody was keen enough to spot the knife so that they could cut the rope that was about to go around their neck. Like it could be either or. It could be that like an opposing Fey force, like a Fey court that that has decided to sort of indirectly rebel against Fey Hollow's master. Or it might have been Fey Hollow itself just playing a game. Like is one of these foolish little humans smart enough to find or keen or sharp-eyed enough to spot the little bauble on the side of the road before they enter the bear trap? Yeah, my working theory though is that it's the summer court fucking over the winter court.
Fair.
Yeah, fair folk.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my actual thoughts. So, Mikey, D stands for evil.
All right. So I have a quote here that made me laugh a little bit.
Oh.
The farther I got along the path, the closer I got to the music, the quicker my steps became, my feet slapping against the dirt in time with the rapidly increasing beat of my heart as it thundered within my chest. So, the average heartbeat of a 10-year-old is between 75 to 115 beats per minute.
Jesus.
So
that kid's running.
yeah, he's not walking no more. It's just my legs.
He's just taking a whole lot of tiny steps.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's just like it's beep beep. Apparently, this is Sanic. Yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. That's a call, that's a good call.
Yeah, and then my next actual thought is that there's a bit of a missed opportunity because they could have had a picture of an amulet
In the story.
Yeah,
yeah, I guess we could have.
It says he still has it.
Yeah, I guess we could have had gotten a photograph of the of an amulet. I mean, literally, go to a new age shop and you can find an amulet in there, or get a custom made one or something. But yeah, I guess that is it is a bit of a missed opportunity.
Yeah. Like, show us the protection items that we can get one too.
Yeah, this is clearly a ritual pasta.
And that's the end of my actual thoughts.
Oh, okay. I get. Did you have anything I guess to say about the descriptions and stuff of that, or is it just like you agree with what I was saying earlier?
Well, I came in expecting something weird to go on, and something weird happened. So
I was not disappointed.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was really glad that this title actually connected to the story, because we've had a couple of times where like the title is just like completely set the bar and disappoints in previous creepypastas. So, but all right, fair enough. Gamer.
All right. So when it says, I retrieved the object from within and found it was sort of a pendant strung upon a leather thong and inlaid in silver. So I'm going to go ahead and assume it's either meaning it's like a leather necklace or a lanyard or a sandal or something. It says
Yeah.
thong.
That the old way of the old word for thong is like like a looped like piece of leather.
Yes.
So
But was
it's-
that used like even in the 70s?
it's used now for that.
Is it?
Yeah,
Oh. Well, never mind then.
it's okay. It's just
I didn't know they still used it for that purpose because I figured the other type of thong would have taken over by now.
although I will admit I did read that and I'm just like thong
Yes.
because I'm 12. So,
Indeed. The food stands advertised the most sumptuous of treats.
sumptuous of treats.
Sumptuous? Is it sumptuous? Oh, there was a U.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard sumptuous before. It means splendid and expensive looking.
Yep.
You guys were talking about treats. I thought it was going to be scrumptious based on the way that word was, but no, it's a different word.
Scrumptious would also be an applicable word, I think, but
Yes. Then it goes on to talk about the man in the moon situation.
Mhm.
I turned and gave him a fully realized wink and a grin and all that, and it's a huge moon. So straight up, I saw it as a Majora's Mask moon. to
yeah,
me.
yeah.
Female, of course, but still a giant, horrifying.
So the moon from Majora's Mask, but with lipstick on it on the lips.
Yeah, and a bow.
Yeah, exactly.
Give it a Mrs. Pac-Man situation.
Exactly.
Totally. Then it goes on to describe what Binkle was wearing. The being was dressed in all green, from its pants and coat to the little hat on its head, and its ears were tapered to points at their ends. All told, it resembled nothing so much as a classic elf from fairy tales my grandparents would read me before I fell asleep every night. Until it said elf, I was 100% imagining a leprechaun.
I think what the problem here is that like I can see why they'd say elf because I'm thinking of the Santa's little helpers. Like
Yes.
to me those like because it doesn't describe the kind of hat it's wearing. It just says there's a green hat on its head. So that can either be like the little top hat that leprechauns have, or the little green toques that little Santa's little helper elves have. Like in
Yeah, they have like a Link hat, right?
exactly, yeah,
Bring it back to Zelda.
exactly. I mean, weird. You're the gamer in yellow.
Right.
I'd expect nothing less.
Mhm. Then, speaking of the little leprechaun guy, when the glamour gets dropped and he sees that the fingers have been run through a small corpse and all that, and he's being puppeted by him,
Mhm.
I find the dead elf is kind of confusing and not really needed.
Was it
'Cause
a
it's-
dead elf or was it a child?
It doesn't say.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's my problem with that. Like, that's what I like. I liked the descriptor of the reveal and stuff like that, but that's also my problem with that story. That story is like, or that sentence. I couldn't make sense of like, is the elf was elf built Binkle or is the creature Binkle? I wasn't getting it. But
It just says run through a small corpse, the body dressed in recognizable stage green outfit that revealed the identity of the speaker, of whom I had earlier made an acquaintance. It doesn't specifically say that it also has elf ears and stuff, but
yeah,
regardless, I find this part kind of unnecessary because they have enough power in their glamour to make a snake look like a roller coaster or a spider web look like a Ferris wheel. So why does this guy get like the bottom of the barrel magic that he has to have something to puppet?
it could be
Why
just he's a
couldn't he have
lesser
just-
Fey. Like he's not as strong in the magics as the queen or whatever the Sylvan creature is. I keep calling it the Sylvan Queen because it's
I'm pretty sure
very
that's what it's called in this too.
yeah, it's called the Sylvan Queen, or the Sylvan creature. But I keep calling it the Queen because it's basically the queen of this domain, Fey Hollow.
says queen.
Does it say it? Does it say queen?
Unless it's talking about the spider.
Yep.
Never mind. But either way, all the other creatures had like full on. They just changed the entirety of their look. Where this guy doesn't have that option.
Yeah.
Or he's just having fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I guess is an option.
Yep.
Then compared to what you said earlier, Cultus, in regards to the story, it could have ended way earlier. Like when he got away from Fey Hollow the first time and then it's over.
Yeah.
I'm with you, because I was reading this and I thought it was wrapping up, and then I scrolled down and there's still paragraphs of text.
Yeah.
But honestly, I didn't mind that, because what it does is it shows you the long-lasting repercussions of going there. Most stories just like, there's a spooky thing that happened, but I got away.
Yeah.
Credits.
I will say that this one also does it well. Like, it doesn't rush. It summarizes things that happen, but it doesn't feel rushed to me, like the ending.
No.
So.
Yeah, it goes through from him getting out of there up until his teens, or his 18 rather.
Going
and then
to college.
18 to 30, and it's like sectioned out of his life, so you can see how this thing has affected him his entire life.
Exactly.
And how it's going to continue to affect him, because he's apparently going to have kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so I actually appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't actually like, I mean, really, like, I wasn't disappointed that, like, oh, damn it, I had to keep reading. It didn't end where I thought it was going to end. I still enjoyed the rest of the read. So.
Yeah. And that's about all I got.
All right. Then I suppose we shall move on to final thoughts. I really enjoyed the descriptions and the plot we got here. Like just like the journey of this kid going into this whimsical place, and then it turning out to not be so whimsical, and actually be a Guillermo del Toro horror film, with like creepy fucking Fey monsters, and like everything that you thought was cool and fun is actually horrifying and terrifying and carnivorous. Oh, I didn't even bring up, like, I fucking love the cotton candy jellies. Like the way it's described is like the cotton candy is actually like a jelly, like this like jelly creature that like slings up the victim's arm and like just becomes a gelatinous cube onto their head and just puppets the body like a fucking.
The hot dogs, which are basically face huggers.
Yeah, basically they go in down they.
It's a chest burster, technically.
Stuff down their mouths and then just burst out of their stomachs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so fucking cool. Like, it's horrifying. It's all like the story like has a lot of child death, but it's not like
it's tasteful child death.
It's so weird to say that, but kind of like I didn't have the same reaction I would have if the story was skeevy. Like if it was more, I think it's because there's a whimsical element, like it's fairy folklore or it's like fairy horror. So it's less like trauma. It's less like I'm getting less of like I don't really want to read this.
If
It's
it was
more
a
of
dude
like
named Gary that's doing all this.
Yeah, like if it was actually it was actually real people, like, and not like the Fae. Like if it wasn't like the boogeyman, basically, if it wasn't like a monster, like an actual supernatural creature, I'd have problems with it, I think. But as it is, honestly, like it's really creative and horrifying. And that's in the best way for me. Like, fairies are scary. And like especially like in the older lore and folklore that you find for them. Like they are creepy motherfuckers, and they are like inhuman creatures that are so beautiful that it's inhumanly so. And yeah, although I think there's some missed opportunities in this story, like with the ending, like I feel like it might have been a cool thing to have the long con part, but I'm not beating the story up for the ending we got. And obviously there's some typos and stuff we picked out, but like they're really minor. Like quick round of editing on creepypasta.wiki, and this thing can get like a nice little finish on it. Yeah, I really can't complain too much about the stuff that we complained about. Like it was pretty minor, like in all, like when everything was said and done. So I'm gonna recommend it. If you like fairy folklore shit, you'll probably dig this story, and I kind of want to borrow the idea for a game, simply because like it felt very much like it would be good fodder for like a Little Fears game or like a Cthulhu game where your characters stumble into this whimsical place that turns out to be horrifying, and then the place itself stalks you throughout your life. So good job, Shadow Swimmer 77. You did good. In my eyes. We'll see how the other guys feel. Speaking of, Mikey, D stands for evil.
Alright. So, going into this, and once it got to the fairgrounds and stuff actually began to happen, I, like I said, immediately went to sort of the Pinocchio route where something bad is going to happen to all these children. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
something bad did happen.
Mhm. Something bad. Something very bad. I almost wondered, like, while I was reading the story, it's like, are there actually any other children in this? Or are these all just like are these all just like illusions too? Like, I wasn't quite sure until like it got into like more like some of the more like graphic stuff that happened in the true form stuff. It's like, oh no, there are other kids in this park.
I mean, I guess it's possible that they're all illusions except for Trevor.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think it's basically like kind of insinuating that, like, because I'm also wondering, like, does the trail, is that the only place in the woods that trail exists, or does it in fact have, like, basically it's like a like sort of like a quantum thing where like the trail exists in multiple places at once, and they all paths lead to Fey Hollow. Like,
Well, he had to go back to his grandmother's place to find it again.
but he found it in a different location in the woods than he did before.
Yeah.
And then it started stalking him, remember? So like he probably, I imagine, like, maybe he was like, if he was doing the sleepwalking thing that we kind of speculated from like the library, perhaps he just like had to walk into a forest and find the trail.
Maybe.
He just knew that like the trail existed in the woods by his grandparents' place. But it might exist elsewhere, like, or it might pop up elsewhere.
Hence the
why
library. And it's
and
only
also,
showing up elsewhere because he already knows about it.
exactly. Also, hence why there's more children like around. Because again, like maybe some of those children are illusions, but there's still children there that are clearly being eaten and devoured and stuff. So they had to come from somewhere.
And even if all those were an illusion just to fuck with him, they wouldn't let him go that easy. Because he would be the only actual one there to take.
Exactly, yeah. Although, actually, though fairies are also honor bound and like word bound in some cases. So like the trap might be set up so that like he had to partake in order to actually he basically had to take the bait in order to actually get trapped.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so he had to make the choice. Like that's what fairies are all about. They're all about you making the choice or like subscribing to their deals. And if you don't, well, they have no power over you whatsoever. So they have to let you go. But yeah, I can see it being either way. But Mikey, you continue. Sorry.
All right. So yeah. Do and like we said before, that as soon as he gets out, we sort of was expecting it to end, but then there was a bunch of paragraphs afterward. And then we suddenly get the he's an adult and he has protection for his kids if he ever has them. But I like the idea that Review Cultist came up with, which is, what if this girl that he's in love with is actually the Sylvan in disguise?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm actually I felt very proud of myself for like coming up with that. I'm not gonna lie. I was like,
It's good.
I came up with a revelation. I don't know how.
Revelation.
I don't know if it's on the same tier as the ones that Mikey or Gamer have done before, but I think I was pretty confident with that one.
Mm-hmm. Good job.
Yay! I'm in the same club, right? I don't know about
You
that.
got the good try award.
Yay! I got the star. It's even green.
Mhm.
So overall, I'm going to give this a recommendation because it didn't stop where typical pasta stop, where it's like, oh, I got free of the spooky thing,
Yeah.
and it's still out there, but yeah, I'm free.
It didn't leave off where a Lovecraft story would also have left off. Where it's like, I got super spooked. I passed out. Woke up in a hospital with a popsicle stick in my mouth. Oh, that was horrifying. Finn.
Yeah.
That's literally how the festival by H.P. Lovecraft ends. Is he goes on a crazy thing after like partaking in a weird supernatural festival, passes out, wakes up in a hospital bed. It's been a week or two, and he's never going to go back to that town again. That's it. Yeah. But all right. So I guess on to Gamer.
I also enjoyed it. The read went pretty good. I enjoyed how it showed how it's affected his life after the fact. That's the immersion of it. The only way you can add to it more is if there's an actual picture of the pendant. Because this does seem like it's the story's here as a warning. So it would be good if he's like, here's a picture of the pendant. If you see one around, it might be handy to get for your kids. And get something that isn't an actual pendant. So like, if you're randomly going through like a garage sale, you might see it and be like, "Aw."
That is the exactly, yeah. Like, grab one from like from Green Earth or like another New Age sort of shop that like somebody might have in their like in a garage sale or thrift store, and just to fuck with somebody who's read your story.
Yes, for sure.
Like, because in that case, it's almost an advertisement. It's like, oh, you should get that. You should get that amulet.
Yeah.
Practically a prop for a piece of fiction.
Mm-hmm.
It is fiction, right? Right?
Sure it is. But yeah, overall, I liked it. There's only those couple of quote-unquote problems that I brought up, but they're not even really problems. So, overall, recommend it.
Wow. So a full-on roundhouse recommendation to the face.
Yeah.
Did it. This I loved the story. So I'm not ashamed to say that. And it seemed like we all enjoyed it. So that has been this week's episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below. Whether it gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr. We're all on Twitter. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W at the end because his name is very long.
It has to be that.
Yes. And I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. We can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, cryptids, spooky things online that you'd like us to have a look at. We'll take a look at it, we'll read it, we'll view it, we'll discuss it, and post it on our podcast. So.
And yes, we know we spelt the name of the show wrong.
On
purpose.
Yes, on purpose. Yes.
It's because of creepypastas, and there's always bad spelling in creepypastas.
Exactly. Haha, you son of a bitch. If you'd like to help support the show financially, you can go to Patreon, look up Al Dente Rigor Mortis, and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it'd be like speaking into the void. And without your stories that you write and post online for people to read and enjoy, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
Mikey, E stands for evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well.